Okay, welcome to the Mediacurrent Contrib Half-Hour. It is the 12th of October. And today we're going to look at the retrofit system for Drupal 10. Some slight hiccups this week. I inadvertently spilled some coffee on my personal laptop that I normally use for these recordings last week. And so I don't have some of my things, including local installs I normally use for doing meetings. So we might not get to some of the stuff I wanted to look at. Anyway, housekeeping, kicking us off. I'm your host, Damien McKenna. I've been involved in the Drupal community since 2007. I do a bunch of stuff, but people recognize me as that guy with bunny ears who hops around the issue queues. My time is sponsored by Mediacurrent. We're an open source product agency, and our commitment to open source goes beyond software. Next week, we're going to follow up on building CKEditor 5 plugins. And by then, I hope to have a fully working plugin rather than just part of it. And then October 26th, we'll have a look at some news issues and Q&A. So if there are questions you have or issues you're running into, please bring them along and we'll see what we can get up to. The schedule is wide open for November. If there's a topic you'd like us to look at, please let us know. So no security updates this week, a quiet week to give everybody time to get their Drupal cores up to date, finish migrating to Drupal 10, etc. And there hasn't been a bug fix update or release for Drupal core this week either. So the latest is 10.1.5. That was a bug fix. And as you might have noticed, core releases for Drupal 10.0 and 9.5 have definitely slowed down. The last updates there were the security fix from a number of weeks back. And Drupal 7.98 is eyeing retirement. So there were some nice looking changes committed recently. One of the more useful ones, I think, is the show blocks functionality that was added to CKEditor 5. That was something that was fairly regularly used in CKEditor 4 back in the day, where you could see the location of the block. So if you're trying to work out why things were not lining up the way you thought, you could turn on that option and it would do a nice outline around all of the pieces within the WYSIWYG. And I know the word block is a loaded word in Drupal because you have block configuration, you have block layouts, you have block content. This is the DOM level highlighter functionality in the WYSIWYG as opposed to anything else. So anyway, moving along. The config form, field config form architecture has been reworked a bit, and I expect this will start hitting some of the more advanced contrib modules. So I expect there to be a bit of a bump in the community as we adapt to those changes. Another kind of neat change is that Drupal core is starting to use a fibers system in PHP with 10.2. That is a system for spinning off kind of parallel parallel processes. So say, for example, you have a whole bunch of different, your module has a whole bunch of logic to run, maybe build some queries, generate some output, do some stuff. you can use the fibers, or maybe even say generate some text files or some images or something. You can use the fibers system for spinning off a separate task to generate the images or whatever while you get on with the rest of the code. And Drupal core is starting to use this now for doing some of the aggregate file generation. So I think it's going to be cool. It only is used in Drupal 10 because, excuse me, it requires a newer version of PHP that is also required by Drupal 10. So it has been there for a while in the PHP world, but Drupal is now starting to use it. So neat stuff there. And then for people who write tests, there's now a generic module test base thing. So you can base class. So you can, in the tests for your custom module or theme, I suppose, well, probably just module, you can test to make sure that do extra tests to make sure that it installs properly when it's installed, or also uninstalled. So nice to see that small improvement. But that show blocks functionality, I think, is going to be really nice. Anyway, moving on. So DrupalCon Lille, aka DrupalCon Europe, or DrupalCon France, whichever. DrupalCon Lille is next week. Regular attendee or Contrib Half-Hour attendee Marky is going to be attending that, so I look forward to hearing back from him when he returns. Drupal GovCon is November 1st and 2nd, and then NedCamp 2023 in mid-November, just before Thanksgiving break here in the US. Both of those on the East Coast. Then into 2024, Florida Drupal Camp is in February, Nerd Summit returns in March, and then DrupalCon North America 2024 in May. So lots of stuff to look forward to. Anybody have anything they'd like to share? If not, I didn't. Okay. In that case, let's get into Retrofit. So Retrofit is, you can find the current PR landing page at retrofit-drupal.com. And it's yet another brainwave from Matt Glaman, whose other stuff you've no doubt seen mentioned here rather often. He has written some, or contributed some quite awesome tools to the Drupal community over the years. And this one is a Drupal 7 compatibility layer for Drupal 10, which is a bit mind-blowing. While it's not magic, I think it'll definitely help people get their sites upgraded more quickly, because it takes care of a lot of boilerplate code. So for module compatibility, it works as a wrapper around some of the APIs that you might have on your Drupal 7 site to make them work in Drupal 10. And in order to use it, one thing you do have to do is update your info file. Once you have that piece done, then it can work. With themes, there's a little more work, and along with having to rename the info file, you also have to rename the template file to match the normal naming convention for Drupal 8 and above themes. And if you're using style sheets, which kind of assume that a site was going to use them, given it's a theme, those have to be recreated using the new libraries structure from Drupal 8 Plus. That I suspect most people will know how to handle that, but there is thankfully documentation on doing that. So far, the main published limitation is that the translation function T, it's kind of a core limitation or core change. The exclamation mark placeholder was removed in Drupal 8. So those strings would have to be changed, manually changed. Otherwise, the strings won't be properly displayed. Otherwise, some of the things that might get improved is to maybe automatically convert the T strings from the exclamation string to either the colon string or the ampersand string. That's kind of a little more complicated because it's hard to tell sometimes whether a string is for use with placeholders or the string is written that way purposefully. For example, not every language writes the exclamation marks at the end of the sentence. Not every language writes left to right. Some of them are right to left. And if with the string replacement, it replaced an exclamation mark with an ampersand because it was at the start of a word, that might break the output because it might have wanted to look like that. So on the other hand, that kind of thing, there could be, say, some overrides or settings to control that. So maybe by default it would do that, but you'd have the option to turn it off. I don't know. Anyway, another one that is slightly more straightforward is the possibility of automatically converting style sheet entries to library entries because of the fact they're a standard, fairly standard format. An initial effort could be done to just shoehorn them into a library structure and work from there. Anyway, let's see what we can do with a quick demo. So in order to install it, let me find the page. You basically create a bare bones Drupal site and you add it as part of your Drupal 10 migration process. You would, before you start running the migration, as we've seen other times, you run composer require retrofit -Drupal /retrofit, and it adds it to the codebase. And if we take a look, let me see. Retrofit is down here. One thing I noted is that Matt set up a project on GitHub for this instead of it just being under his own user account. So retrofit -Drupal. Therefore, it makes it easier for others to contribute and him to pass this on and others to take over maintenance long term. But anyway, besides that, so it's not, one thing to note is it's not a module for adding to Drupal. It is a composer dependency. So you add it like you saw with the composer require command. And then it installs this fairly benign looking directory tree into your project as an SRC directory because it's a PSR4 tool, and then has a templates directory. Inside the templates directory are two theme files. One of them is for simply outputting a function, and one of them is for simply outputting a PHP template retrofitted output thing. So those are, at least for now, extremely straightforward. However, inside the SRC directory is where all of the magic is. And so it defines a number of, or it defines blocks. Let's take a look at, I went too far. So it defines field formatters and blocks, and then menu links. So that seems to suggest it handles the block API and the menu API and field formatters, custom field formatters that might have been built using the hooks. And it uses Drupal's deriver system for automatically generating blocks based upon what was defined in the Drupal 7 code. So it doesn't have to manually create all of these plugins, or plugin files in the Drupal 10 codebase. It kind of magically provides them dynamically using the deriver system. So that works on blocks, field formatters, and menu links. And this provides some conversion between the data structures from Drupal 7 to Drupal 10. So this part is pretty straightforward. But it then has a whole bunch of other things. It handles the route system automatically. So it generates new routes based upon what was defined in hook menu. Has evidently quite a lot here. On the project page, there are a number of issues open. And as you can see, there's some ongoing work to improve it further, especially around the theme. For one of the things I'm sure that you know with Drupal 7 is you could do an awful lot with the theme, both good things and bad things. And the fact that the templates were raw PHP allowed a lot of, I don't want to say bad things to be done, but unclean things. Lots of things have been built that could have been built a little more tidily. So where people have lots of business logic wrapped into template files. So that's going to be obviously harder to handle than something simple, but at least it's giving you a big step forward. So there are a couple of bug reports, but I think it has I think it's a great step forward to help with all of the boilerplate code. unfortunately, because of the aforementioned laptop blow up, I don't have a running local install I can test this with. So maybe we'll have to loop back to that next week. Related to migration, to help people with their site migrations, there was another thing that was announced last week. Let me see if I can find it. Org. You let me see. Acquia released this new tool. See if you can find it. Project supported. Separation. Acquia migrate. Yes, this one is it. This is it. So the developers at Acquia had built a tool to help improve migrations, especially situations where you have a heavily customized migration. And this provides a nicer UI around the whole process. So you can step through it, and somebody who's less technically capable can review it in a nicer UI, like you can see here with the animated GIF. And so I'm going to test this one out. They've been using it with some of their clients for a while, but it was released to the public as a project on Drupal.org 2 weeks ago or something. And they posted a nice blog post with the details. And the idea is to give people a nicer UI for migrating their sites off of Drupal 6 and 7, make it easier to manage that process, especially for larger sites and ones where extra customizations were needed. So I'm happy to see this open as a public project so that more people can use it and more people can contribute to it. And huge props to Wim Leers and the rest of the folks at Acquia for building that. Well, we have a minute. Let's go download it so we can see what it looks like under the hood. Just real quick. It's already installed. Apparently, I already downloaded it. Okay. Things you forget you do. All right. So it uses behind the scenes a couple of the usual suspects, Migrate Plus, which expands the APIs for building migrations. Decoupled pages, I guess, because it uses a JavaScript UI for its UI. It's built with a JavaScript system. So using decoupled pages means it can, I guess, provide the necessary output to that system. Nothing too strange there. And it has a couple of patches for core. Interesting. readme.md, React-based UI. And so as normal, you provide a database definition, then for the old Drupal 7 source, and then run the migration, or run the tool and see how it looks. I will look into this for next time and see how it works with the migration project I've been working on, that you've been looking over my shoulder about. So a little short today. Sorry about the not being able to follow up on or test out Retrofit properly, but hopefully my laptop problems will be solved by next week and we can try that one again. But let's leave it there for today. Thank you for joining us, and hope everybody has a fantastic week.
Thanks, Damien.
Thanks, Damien.
Take care.